Hello, and thank you for joining us. My name is Rachel McKenzie, and for the next module, I'm going to be talking about how to write your declaration, or in other words, the statement that you need to write to the judge when you request your restraining order and what you need to consider. What I'm going to cover in this module is going to be a little bit about the forms, the requirements, some tips, some practical considerations to think about, and of course, the things that you need to remember. First of all, on the forms, you'll see on DV 100, that's the actual form you make your request on, several times, such as on page 5 and 6, number 27, you'll see that it wants you to write about certain instances that might have happened. Sometimes it's easier to write your statement first, and then when you fill in the forms, you can write, "Please see attached." And then on your statement, you would just attach it once you write your story. And that can be written on binder paper, or it can be typed and printed. But I think it's easier if you write your statement first and then fill out the forms, so you don't have to rewrite everything numerous times. It's also good to remember that when you write your statement, you're telling your story to the judge. And this can be difficult and it can be triggering and hard to write, but it needs to be done and able for you to get protection for you and your children. And when you do this, if you find yourself needing help, reach out to a domestic violence advocate, and they certainly would be able to help you further. We'll talk more about resources closer to the end of the module. This is what the forms look like on the DV100, and all of the highlighted spots are places where we have written, "Please see attached." So in other words, you wouldn't have to rewrite your story here on each line on each form if you've already written your story one time. That just makes it easier for you to get the forms completed because we know that there's a lot of forms to fill out. Now, this is how we suggest that you would write your declaration or your statement to the judge. You're going to write an introduction. You're going to explain who you are and who your abuser is. In other words, this is me. I am married to this person. We have these children. They're this old. And any other kind of relevant information that you think the judge should know about your relationship with the person you're asking for protection from. Then, once you've explained the situation, you want to write about the recent abuse. And we suggest you start off with the worst abuse first. You can also go in chronological order if you want, but you would want to explain, this is what has happened, this is how I was injured, and it has happened on numerous times. This has happened on this date, this has happened on this date. Then you can write, if this has been an ongoing situation, about the history of it. This person often calls me horrible names in front of the children, or perhaps this person has sold my car and won't let me leave the house and won't let me drive the children anywhere. Or perhaps this person made me lose my job for these reasons. Those are all things you would want to consider telling the judge. You would also want to describe to the court any information about any kind of custody and visitation arrangements that you have, why that isn't working, and what you want now. So if you want sole custody, this is your time to ask for it. If you want supervised visitation for the other party, this is the time to ask for it. You will see on the forms boxes that you check and blanks you fill in. All you need to do is read them, check the boxes, and fill in the appropriate information as what you are requesting the court to order. And finally, in your statement, in conclusion, you want to write to the judge why you need this restraining order. Why are you scared of this person? Why are they making you afraid of them? Have they hurt you? Have they injured you? Are they stalking you? Have they injured your children? Will they not leave you alone? In conclusion, Your Honor, this is why I would like this restraining order. And that's your statement. So the requirements are that it should not be more than 10 pages long, but that does not include any kind of attachments or exhibits you want to show the judge. Those 10 pages can be handwritten or they can be typed. You can write it on binder paper. You can write it on blank paper. The only thing that's important is that it is legible. If the judge cannot read it, then that's a problem. And you want to remember to discuss what harm or abuse you suffered, when, and how it was done to you. Some tips to think about is that you continually want to remember to ask for what you want and to tell them why. You want to make sure it's clear to the judge that this is what you want. I want protection and this is why. You want to avoid what the law calls inflammatory language. In other words, you just want to state the truth and how it made you feel. You don't need to sling mud, or you don't need to talk bad about the other parent's family or anything, slinging mud. However, you write the truth, you state the facts, how you made it feel, and why you were hurt. The organization of your statement is your choice. You can start with the worst example first. As I said, you can write chronologically and use an outline or a timeline with specific dates and what happened on those dates. You can also follow our suggested outline above if you want. But remember that this is your story. You want to tell the truth in your words. And when you write your declaration, keep in mind that you want to include what happened, where it happened, how did it make you feel, and if there were any witnesses. Some practical considerations. If you want to attach evidence or attachments, for example, if you want to show the judge copies of text messages, letters, notes, photographs, or anything else, you're going to write about it in your declaration. Here's an example. If you want to attach a photo of a bruise or an injury you received, or a text message showing abusive language, you would print a copy of that photograph or of that text message. When you write in your statement about it, you would refer to it as attached. So for example, you would say something like, he gave me a black eye. I have attached a picture of it here and labeled it Exhibit A. Or you could say, he would text me and say blank. He did this all the time. An example is attached as Exhibit B. And for each attachment you attach, you would then obviously make it the next letter in the alphabet. So although your 10 pages are limited to your story, the amount of attachments are not limited. And anything you feel you need the judge to see to grant you protection, you can attach. Finally, things to remember when telling your story. You want to make sure that the judge knows about the injuries you've suffered, when and how it happened, but also about how this person could isolate you, manipulate you, and control you. Use specific examples as we've talked about in other modules, such as, did this person sell your car? Did they force you to lose your job? Did they make you drop out of school? Are these things that they have used to cut you off from your family or other things of this nature? If you would like any kind of assistance to continue to prepare your declaration, please reach out to the domestic violence shelters for additional aid, support, and assistance. Their information is on our website as well as in our resource packet. and you can certainly look for them there. Take care, and we hope that you've enjoyed this module.